And that's yet another DDG win.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Dead Draw Gaming YouTube channel. I'm Brian Kelly, owner and manager of DDG. And tonight we are hot off the heels of the 2023 Pittsburgh Regional. Tonight we have two of the top four players from the event. At the champion of the event, Andrew Estrada, is with us tonight, as well as Andrew Hedrick, who placed in the top four. And we also got Team DG player Michael Perez, good friend of both these players, and can also give some input on the tournament. So, how are we doing tonight, Andrew? Congrats on the win. How's it going?
Good, man. Tired, still recovering.
Don't blame you. Was it 18 rounds of Kyogre? Would
Yeah, 18 rounds of Kyogre, best of three. Insane.
Decimate anybody, right? So,
no brain after this.
Yeah, man. Andrew, how's school going? How are we doing after the event?
I don't know. I'm feeling pretty good. Definitely happy to get that top forward, but trying to get back into going to my classes and catching up on what I missed at the event. So
nice. Does anyone in your classes know, like, you're a perennial multiple regional winner?
No, it's not, that information's not getting around yet. So
yeah, okay. Well, as soon as EI Sports has an article on you, maybe they'll find out.
Hopefully we can avoid that happening. But
all right. And finally, also Team GG player Mike Perez. How are we doing tonight?
Can't complain. Just got off work. It was a long, hot day. I'm super happy that my teammate and one of my close friends did super well at the event. Our other sponsored player, Hunter Butler, was bubbled out of Top Cut, and he was in position to make top 8. So I can't really complain. I'm really happy for all my buds.
Yeah, that's a good point. We had a just ridiculous showing in Pittsburgh. Hunter was, I think, one of 4 or 5 players that bubbled out of top 8. So he was right there in it. And his story is ridiculous because he got in at like 5 a.m. Saturday morning, maybe slept 30 minutes, went and made day 2, then just had a ridiculous run on Sunday to barely miss out on top 8. So it was a great weekend for Dead Draw. All right, so this is Andrew's first time on the channel, so just want to kind of get an intro from you. You want to just give us a little background on how you got into the game, how long you've been playing for, and how the past couple seasons have gone for you since we've returned from the COVID break.
Yeah, for sure. Been around for a long time. I think I was about 12 years old when I started, so 2011 was my first season, last month of 2010, and then going into 2011. So been a while. Been taking a few years on and off the game. It's been obviously a long time, so I've seen a lot of people come and go, but it's good to meet new people every few years or so. After Worlds, I kind of chilled for a few years after obviously 2014, the big win. Kind of chilled for a few years, didn't do much, played a few local events, but felt that once they introduced the concept of day 2, my biggest issue with Pokemon was that I felt like people were making it their life completely with having to grind for the stipend and the day 2 points needed for top 16. So I kind of just said it wasn't worth pursuing as much anymore. So definitely took some years off for a break. Came back after COVID. I think I top 4 the first regionals, actually. Luckily, with Mew, where I played and met Hedrick for the first time.
yeah, you took the win over me at that one, though.
Yeah, that was a crazy one. I was super lucky. I sub-ran that one. but yeah, what's it called? Kind of didn't do much for the rest of that season. I topped 8 Worlds in London. Played Palkia, went through day 1, and then I had a pretty soft season last year. Didn't really do much. Pretty quiet, and pretty luckily happy to bounce off this one. So far, with a good story.
I was going to say you didn't do much the rest of the year, but you got 5th at the World Championships. Not bad.
Kind of makes up a little bit.
Yeah. Which division were you in 2014 when you?
I was a master. Yeah, I was.
Oh 50. Wow. Okay. So yeah, I started in 2019, and I don't think I even knew that, to be honest. I should have done more research for this, but it's pretty
I was
sick.
I was first year master actually.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Okay. Yeah, that's impressive. Cool. So going into this event, you I think kind of brought a deck that was had been a little less frequently played in recent months or so. Can you give us just kind of like a little bit of context around what your thinking was going into Pittsburgh, what your preparation looked like, and how you ultimately settled on the deck you did?
So I actually had Lugia sleeved up 2 nights ago. I was messaging in the chat. So we're all buddies here, right? So I have a chat with Hedrick and some other boys of ours. Michael, you're in that chat too, right? It's us
I don't
three.
know.
I think it's us three and Gabe, and I think we're just missing Cal from the shuffle squad. But yeah, we have a chat with the five of us, and we kind of just talk about decks. So I had Lugia sleeved up, and then I kind of just figured out that I expected a lot more Miraidon and like Garatina decks just because they were the most hyped decks. And I felt like Kyogre was just a huge underdog going to the event, and it really felt like Kyogre can just kind of beat anything if you can really set up and kind of just streamline attacks with Sableye, Cram, Dragonite, and just super strong arm your opponent, kind of just bone rush them. And then basically it kind of just came down to how much Ursh I really expected. And to be honest, I didn't really think Ursh was gonna have that much of a showing, just because Ursh really doesn't beat a lot of the counter, the anti-meta decks, but it does favor against the big, obviously like Tina, and or even Tina doesn't even feel like great for it, but like Turbo Lost Box, obviously great matchup for Ursh. So like Lugia beats Ursh too as well. So I wasn't really expecting that as well. So I guess I just decided I'm just gonna go in with the mindset that I have a chance of beating everything. I think as long as I play well, draw well. So yeah, definitely felt like the underdog for the weekend though.
Cool.
Yeah, I definitely think that the popularity of Lugia is a huge factor in whether Kyogre is a good call for the event, right? Because Lost Box decks, I mean, Tina has a decent matchup against it if you know how to play it really well. But most Lost Box decks don't have a great matchup against Lugia. And so the more popular Lugia is, the better of a call Kyogre becomes. And then Tina, I feel like out of all the Lost Box decks, has the best matchup against Rapid Strike decks than any other, right? Because you can kind of sit back behind and use Abyss Seeking and not put as many small guys in play. So it's just kind of like the perfect storm. And with Obsidian Flames coming out and then Mew winning Worlds and everybody like whether I should tech against Mew or not, etc. It's just like everyone forgot that Kyogre was an insane deck.
Sure. Same question for you, Andrew. Like, what did your preparation look like, and how did you ultimately settle on Lugia?
So I was testing out a couple decks before the event for sure. I tested Urshifu and Teleon for a little bit, but I was getting kind of annoyed when I would hit Mews or Lugias and I just would not be able to beat them. And I was also testing Giratina out, but I feel like that deck also had some really awkward starts sometimes that made it like you didn't even get to play the game. When you got to play the game, it's really good, but you would not always get to do that. So I was having too many bad hands with that. So then I started to test out Lugia. A few people have been telling me Lugia is pretty good. Gabe kept talking about how good he thought Lugia was, and I had a couple other people as well. So I just tested it out, and it was going really well. And I was like, I think this might be a pretty good weekend for Lugia. It's pretty good against Giratina, the other Lost Box decks, and it really doesn't have any super bad matchups in the meta. Miraidon's definitely a little bit scary, and a lot of Miraidon was an issue, but it does have a really good matchup against the Urshifu and Teleon deck that was getting a lot of hype, I felt like. So I wanted to just be able to make that a really favorable matchup when I hit them instead of having to worry about my deck taking losses. And that ended up being really big. Early in the tournament, there was a lot of them doing well, and I think I hit 4 of them in day 1. Didn't hit any more after that, but it just helped me get off to a really good start by getting a bunch of easy wins against them. None of my sets against that even went into game 3. So
Wow.
Bunch of easy wins.
Before we look at kind of the matchups y'all played throughout day 1 and day 2, I want to touch on Miraidon. Like, were y'all surprised about how prevalent Miraidon was? It seemed like it was everywhere. I think the meta share was like 10 or 11%. Were y'all surprised about how high that got?
Absolutely not, to be honest. Actually, 100% expected people to play it. It's just one of those decks that I find that people just tend to gravitate to, just like Arceus, because it's just the concept's pretty straightforward. It's streamlined. It's consistent. It obviously packs a punch and it has pretty decent matchups. And also considering like all the decks that people were playing in the event, Miraidon just kind of seemed like an obvious meta call. And then once the rumors in Yokohama were going off, it was kind of like confirmed with me at like 1 a.m. that day that it was going to be big the next day. I don't know about Andrew and Michael, but for sure me, I expected it.
Yeah, I don't know. I definitely like as it got closer to the event, I definitely thought there would be a little bit more Miraidon, but I also didn't exactly want to switch off Lugia. It still seemed pretty good, although that matchup is definitely a little bit sketchy. Although the ones that ended up doing well didn't work the heavy path ones, which I think makes it more scary for Lugia. It's definitely a fine matchup if they don't play the super heavy path. So I'd say overall it wasn't ended up being a huge problem, but yeah, Miraidon was pretty popular. I don't know if I expected it to be quite as popular, but I would have said like maybe 9% or 8% I would have guessed around. So it wasn't super surprising to see it at like 11 or whatever it ended up being.
I think that'll certainly change next event with 151 coming out. But I think I was a little surprised. Down where I was at the bottom tables, it was everywhere. But all right. So the day one matchups for you, Andrew Estrada, pretty wide kind of range of decks you have. I'm on the PokeStats kind of listing of your matchups. And day one, yeah, you went through just going round 1 through 9, Gardevoir, Lugia, Giratina, Lugia, Giratina, a Kyogre Lost Zone, and then that was the last matchup for day one.
One of the Lugias was colorless. I think it was round 7
yeah,
against Dominic. He was playing colorless Lugia. That was actually probably my hardest set of the day, honestly. Just because of the fact that he played heavy Snorlax, and then hitting into the Snorlax every single time, I basically had to commit a Dragonite or a Raikou, and then figure out a play with Kyogre, because with the Radiant Charizard, it was just really hard to really establish something. So those games were definitely super down to the wire, but everything else was pretty okay. Like felt pretty normal.
What so the most glaring thing on here is the round 4 loss to Gardevoir. Was that just a kind of a natural loss, or did something happen in the setup there?
It was weird. I kind of spaced out that game, and I think I played really bad. I actually I started a Sableye game 1, and I thought I prized it because he knocked it out right away, and it was behind a Psychic Energy the entire game, and I thought I had it prized. So the whole game I was super rotting just the one Sableye, the second Sableye, and attacking with that Sableye back to back to back to back. And then when I went to Hisuian Heavy Ball for the second Sableye, I saw that it was in my discard under the Psychic, and I couldn't win when I could have won that game, but just grabbing the Sableye and putting it in my deck. So that was just like an example of stuff I was doing. It was just really bad that game. And then game 2, I was pretty tilted. I was pretty rattled game 2. Game 1 took like 40 minutes too. It was just disastrous. I kind of tilted.
You're gonna lose in a Lost Box Gardevoir matchup in game 1. It's not likely game 2 is gonna finish.
Like I don't mind losing naturally, but losing to myself just annoys me a little bit more. So definitely tilted off game 2 there. But everything else was pretty okay.
Well, it was an impressive turnaround because then you routed off 5 straight wins, so it was pretty good. Andrew, how did you feel like your day one? Andrew Hedrick, how did your day one go? How did you feel about your matchups and the course of the day?
I definitely hit pretty good matches throughout all of day 1. Like I talked about earlier, the 4 Urshifu and Teleon, which is definitely a really good match. Only one of them even played the Spiritomb Giacomo thing, which that can make it a little bit closer, but I still was able to 2-0 him, and then the other 3 didn't play either of those cards, so the rest of them were all pretty easy wins. That that matchup, like it can feel a little bit close sometimes, but it never really felt like I was actually going to lose the game. So I think that matchup's overall pretty good for Lugia if you can play it right. Then I hit some other Lost Box decks as well, some Turbo Lost Box decks, which also feels like a pretty good matchup for Lugia. So overall, I can't really complain about my matchups day one. And my hardest one was definitely round 9 against Tord, against Gardevoir.
Yeah, that was my next
that match-
question because like I think I was leaving the venue at that point and I was watching the stream on my phone as I'm like heading back to Airbnb and they did like an overhead shot of the venue and I see you paired across from Tord and I'm like, oh, okay. But
yeah,
how'd that go?
he didn't play any of the tech, which a lot of Gardevoirs have been cutting, like Temple of Sinnoh or Sky Stone or anything that would really make it a big issue. So I'd say it's just a pretty close matchup. And I was able to barely pull it out at the end. It's definitely pretty close. And I definitely got a little bit lucky to pull that one out. But yeah, the Gardevoir matchup didn't feel as good as the rest of my matchups, but overall, pretty good day one.
Okay, so on to day 2. Estrada, how did round 11 go against Jesse Parker? First off, was that like a natural tie? And just how was the matchup there?
No, that one was really frustrating actually, because I actually the turn we tied, the next turn actually I had Kyogre guaranteed, like
Ooh.
locked up for 4 prizes. If the game was going a little bit faster, I definitely would have closed out that game. And then what really upset me after that was, or actually no, it wasn't after. No, actually no, I'm mixing it up now. But yeah, that one was pretty annoying just because if I had an extra turn, I would have Kyogre. But and then it was actually really similar to the stream round. I find game 1 it was pretty clean, and game 2 I kind of just dead drew. I started like save life pass, and he was able to steal a quick one off me. And then game 3 we just never finished.
Nice. Okay. And then how did the rest of day 2 go for you leading up to top 8?
It was pretty fun. I mean, the one against Andrew's on YouTube. Obviously, I lost to Andrew, but I mean, I was happy it was at least to Andrew than anyone else, because we're boys. And then I think what bothered me the most though was after losing, being the only one down pair to hit Shemansky was the only matchup I didn't want to hit, and that was like that like mortified me. sitting down from Ursh, that was definitely tilting for sure. But he dead drew pretty bad game 1, and game 2 I kind of just like sun ran game 2. It was actually crazy. Like that one should have been a stream game for sure. Like the amount of sun running that was just insane. Like I think I pulled like a turn 3 Kyogre that game.
Bro.
For like for like 4 prizes. I remember blew it up, and then he just tilt stormed off, and I was just like so bad.
Yeah, I remember you
texting
went
straight to Michelle and Zach. Was so upset. I could just tell that it was like so lucky there. Just sun ran.
You texted me right after you finished that game. You messaged me and were like, bro, oh my God, I can't believe this just happened. I played against Shemansky, blah, blah, blah. He dead your game 1. It was insane. I can't believe it. I'm running so hot right now.
Yeah, and I swear to God, I think I turned 3 Kyogre or something. It was just so insane. Just so ridiculous. And he took a 4 prize card turn 2 with Yoga Loop. And then I think off like 2 cards, I drew like Manaphy Ninja with like Pokestop into Nest Ball, which got me comfy into Chorus, into Super Rod, Mirage Gate Energy. Just like the most ridiculous combo ever to win the game. But yeah.
Well, that's the story of winning a regional, right? Just like ridiculous.
No, that was definitely a fun run for sure.
Yeah.
Everything else was pretty normal though.
Cool. So okay, I want to get in the top 8 here in a second. Just want to finish off with Hedrick's day 2. Took a couple of ties in round 14, 15. You know, how did you feel like the deck fared in day 2? Because I mean, your day 2 was a little bit more varied than I feel like day 1, where you played Giratina against Giratina, Lawson, Miraidon, Kyogre, Chin-Pao. Like it was a pretty wide variety of decks that you had to face. And you know, you had to take 2 ties in the last couple rounds there.
Yeah, I mean, I started off the day hitting Guillotine and another Turbo, which I feel like those are both pretty good matchups. So I wasn't too upset about that. But then I hit the Miraidon round 12, Adam, and that was definitely a really close set. I was able to pull out game 1. I think barely at the end, I was able to pull that one out. I think I had like earned for game or something. But then game 2 and 3, he was able to just kill my Lugia like immediately before I had to turn like I think game two I only got out one Lugia because my hand was really good, and I wanted to hold the rest of the cards to get like Burnett, V Star, or something next turn. And I was just like, I really hope he doesn't have a way to boss knock out my Lugia, and then he top decks the Forest Steel Stone to get the last piece he needed like Flaffy Energy Boss, and so he's able to pull out that game. And then game three, I think he had the turn one going second boss KO on my Lugia, which is definitely a little bit rough, but so he was able to take that set. And then I faced Estrada on stream. I got really pretty lucky to win game one, milled his last Recycler, but then game two I kind of just swept him. I don't exactly know what happened game two, but I think I just milled too many resources away. It's Estrada, and that kind of set me up to just tie in a couple of times. Took the ID against Lucas Singh in round 14, the Chen Pao, but then round 15 against I got down paired to Isaiah Bradner. I don't exactly know how Tom worked out on that one. I thought I was like I would be like guaranteed to hit someone else, but not how it worked out. But the Tina against Lugia matchup can take a while, so he won game one and I pulled out game two, and there was only a few minutes left, so I was able to take the tie in that one to lock up my spot in top cut. So
And okay, cool. And then let's just wrap up your day real quick. How did the round against Jesse Parker go? Obviously poorly, but you know.
yeah, game one was really close. It was really awkward on both sides. I felt like he got like a really awkward start, but he was still able to get attacking. He was attacking with the baby Zapdos, but that still got pressure on me. Then I think I went into Tyrantars, and I like eventually at the end I got ahead, but I wasn't quite able to close out the game. I might have been able to do something a little bit differently, but I made a different play, and he was able to top deck out of it and pull out that game. And then game two, he ionoed me to 6 into 6 dead cards, and that game ended up pretty quickly. So
Yeah,
that was a little bit rough game two, but can't complain overall. I definitely had good luck before that, so I can't be too mad about that game going out my way.
yeah. Okay. And then last question for you. Does Gabe really deserve the kudos that he's been spreading about convincing you to play Lugia for the weekend?
Game was definitely a big reason. He kept talking about how broken Lugia was, and I just thought I had to try it out, and then I kind of had to agree with him at that point, and then we worked on a list, me and Gabe and Cal, so that worked out pretty well.
Cool. All right. So for the champion here going into top 8, yeah, kind of I don't know if I've ever seen this before, but you got matched up against the same person you played in your last round of day 2 or of the Swiss rounds. Were you pretty confident going into that game? You just felt like, you had this matchup covered and you're still locked for top 4?
It definitely felt a bit better than Jesse's because he didn't play the Zapdos, so his only natural way of knocking out the Dragonite was with the Raichu V.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt comfortable that if I could just chain Dragonite, I might not even need Kyogre. It would be fine. He did offer the tie round 15 against me, and I obviously declined. I knew I couldn't ID. We all had to play. It's crazy actually how table 2 all the way downwards had to play for top cut. That was just like insane just to see how big this regionals actually was.
Mm-hmm.
Which just I've never seen that before. Like one table ID'd last round. It's like unheard of, right?
What was the cutoff? Was it 35 points or?
Yeah, because we predicted for this event that 36 match points would be like safe. And then like 35 is usually considered okay. But in this case, it was 36 made it. And the 135th was Rahul, right? At 8th.
Mm-hmm.
And Rahul's resistance is really good. It was like
and he made it in by a landslide. His resistance was like 68% or something, and everyone else was sitting at 50-ish, 58 or so.
And then we had at least 4 people bubble out of top 8 at 35 points. I think there was 5, but
wait, wasn't there a second 35 pointer that made it into cut?
No, there's just the one, just Rahul.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
my bad.
So that in and of itself is kind of ridiculous. You have 7 people hitting 36 or better. I mean,
it's crazy.
It's wild times. Okay, so I think this is kind of where Michael comes in. So what was the discussion between that I saw something in chat about there was some discussion, a little bit of coaching that happened. What happened here?
Yeah, so
Mhm.
you know, by this time of the day, I've been following Estrada, but I wasn't talking too much with Hedrick that day. And I watched his game on stream against Hedrick, and I was like, oh, it was just so sad because I know what it's like for the Tyranitar to mill the last card. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Hedrick, but it was your first Cragalanche of the game.
Yeah, yeah.
It was your
I think I
first
might have
and
played
only
the
Cragalanche of the game.
yeah. I think
And
I
you
might have
got
played the
his
early game a little bit wrong, but it yeah. That's why I only got off one Tyranitar in that game.
yeah, and so he had to lost Estrada had to lost on one recycler, and I believe the third one was prized, and you discarded the second one with Cragalanche.
He only
And
plays
so it
two
was just
recycler, right? He was like two recyclers.
oh yeah.
Rod,
Talking
I
about
think.
he's talking about the super rod because I had
Yeah.
exactly one super rod, one recycler left in deck, and I had
Yeah.
enough. I had enough cards in my deck to Kyogre that turn. But
Yeah,
then you hit my recycler, and then I just conceded right away.
yeah. You had like
Yeah, that's
exactly
just-
enough resources to pull off the
Yeah, I instantly conceded. Like I didn't even think about it. There's no way.
Yeah, it's devastating when that happens as the Kyogre player. And then game two, like obviously you're super tilted. And so then like I was like I gotta be there for my guy. Because I saw how tilted he was game two.
I just
And
didn't
so-
know. I didn't know the play was to knock out the Serena. I never thought about that. But then I realized that like if you play a heavy collapse version, it can definitely when you're playing Kyogre, it's really fragile into Lugia because they can just heal off damage so fast, or they can just get rid of big attackers or get rid of their Lugia V Star. So you have to really limit their play capacity by knocking out the Serena as fast as possible.
Right. And I chimed into him. I texted him when I realized that he was playing Hawlucha because Hawlucha is actually it rarely comes up, but it comes up in the Lugia and the Mew matchups where you set up damage on one thing, but you leave it with one health left so that you can knock it out with Hawlucha and use Echoing Horn in the same turn to bring back a V. And that makes it so that they have no control over what's on their bench. Right. And so like you don't actually get to pull that off, but knowing that that is like the most optimal play is really useful if the opportunity arises. And he was like, oh, how do I play the Lugia matchup? And I'm like, bro, you played it already. But I told him all the ins and outs. And then I was like, and he was like, oh, actually, I'm playing. What did you play in top 8? Mew?
Right on.
Yeah. And then I was like, oh, it's free. Okay. And then you're like, oh, how do I play the Mew matchup? And I'm like, just kill Genesect, bro. There's so many different ways to kill Genesect, but
yeah,
I was just trying to be there for my bud.
Okay. Yeah, so how did the Mew matchup go in the top 4?
I mean, it's on stream. The first game felt pretty free, especially when I got the knockout right away on the Genesect. I felt like it was pretty much over because I was just going through my deck so fast. I was literally just gonna go Ninja, 4 Comfies, and a Manaphy, so he couldn't block slaughter my Comfies or my Ninja. So I was literally just that was gonna be my board and just keep flowering and retreating, flowering, still carding, whatever, until I had the combo to hit the Kyogre. So that one was pretty okay. I mean, I got the Kyogre off on stream, so that was fun. It was the only time I actually got the Kyogre off on stream. And then game 2, obviously, you guys saw what happened. It was actually really crazy because I actually completely tuned out that he literally drew for turn and played Sparkle right away. I don't know if you guys saw the VOD back, but he just played Sparkle within like 5 seconds of drawing, like without even thinking about it. So in our minds, like we didn't even process the fact that there was a supporter played. So then when he asked me how many cards in my hand, I was like thinking, oh, I'm gonna get judged here. And then when the judge told him that he played the supporter, like you can even see on stream, like I was just shocked. Like I couldn't even believe it. And then he was like, oh shoot, whatever, it's game loss. And then the judges were actually really proper about it. They tried to revert it because it was all on VOD, right?
So he didn't get a game loss on that?
No.
No, it was
actually fixed it. They fixed it, yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it was de-escalated to a double price penalty, right?
Yeah, exactly. They
Yeah.
told him that was the bare minimum that they were going to give him. They asked me if I wanted to appeal. I said no because I thought it was completely fine. I honestly didn't even think the two prizes mattered at that point. I just thought, I just thought like this is really good for the game. That it's not just like a game loss right away as it normally would. But definitely good points were made that if it wasn't on stream, it obviously would have been a game loss. But because it wasn't, and we had the VOD, it saved the game for the views.
And that's huge. Like
Yeah.
when there's a ruling that otherwise would have been like match losing, it's really sad to know that like the opponent who lost didn't actually get to play out the game to see what would have happened. And just to have that opportunity is like take solace in that, because you, Estrada, like you were slightly favored, and I'm sure it felt good like for you not to win that way, right? It always feels good to win
Real. Yeah, like let's
by
be real.
means that aren't getting a game loss.
Yeah, like if you're playing a big tournament, especially when you haven't won like an event in a long time, like it doesn't feel good if you're winning that way because people just sort of undermine your win at that point. If like let's say you got like super lucky or your opponents misplayed or got game losses or got DQ'd, whatever it is, and then people will say, "Oh yeah, whatever, Mickey Mouse event." But it actually felt, but like I was actually really happy and like like this doesn't occur too often, but I thought it was really really good for the game and it kind of just shows that there is room for growth no matter what in the game. And now they're even talking about electronic match slips because like I don't know about you, Hedrick, but the wait times between rounds this regionals was so absurd sometimes.
Yeah.
Like some people would literally just drop and take their slip out of the venue and go get food, whatever, and come back half an hour later. And like Christopher Szymanski would still be calling his name out. It was just like there was a couple times where it was just insane how much we had to wait for the rounds, but there is definitely a lot of room here. Obviously, Pokemon's done a good job with increasing the prize support. Now people can actually and the getting rid of the day two was probably the best thing they could have done too. Now people don't have to make Pokemon their life. They can play a few events, get their invite, go back to school. It gives a lot of players the opportunity to juggle even more their career more with Pokemon. They don't have to be grinding cups out every weekend, grinding for the day two invite, the stipends, all that stuff. There's a lot of flexibility now. So it feels great. At least slow direction.
It's really important that they took over the stream so that they're able to do that, right? Because if it's a grassroots stream, they don't have the capability to have the VOD playback at the desk with the judges. And I'm glad it worked out, like, in the most important round, for the eventual, winner of the event. It's really important. Okay, so just briefly walk us through the championship round. What were the nerves like going into the game, and how did it play out?
I was running on fumes. I was so zoned in. I think I had one meal in 2 days, actually. I don't really like to eat. I don't know what it is, but when I play, it combined with the nerves, it makes me feel sick. So I tend to just drink water and Red Bull coffee. That's like my full diet for the weekend. I don't recommend this to anyone watching, but it works for me. But
Well, no wonder you're dragging on Monday, Tuesday, like
just
5,000 calorie deficit.
yeah, just having insane withdrawals from the weekend. But what's it called? No, but yeah, I was running on fumes. Like I don't know if you could tell in the video, but I was super focused, zoned in. I was kind of irrelevant to the result. I was just happy to be there. And it was just like, I even told Jesse, like, because Jesse was telling me actually while we were setting up that he was nervous. And I just told him, like, hey man, honestly, like, let's just play some Pokemon and get out of here. Let's just play some Pokemon and go home. Hopefully it's 3 games, good games for the crowd. I actually said this to him too. I'm like, I don't even care if we go to game 3. Like, I'm completely fine with everything. Like, let's just have some fun, get out of here, give a good show. And then, yeah, the games were actually pretty close too, as you guys saw.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot of it came down to me being able to hit my Sableye combos, as that's how I played it against Adam, Reinhardt in top 8 actually, and in Swiss on round 15. I kind of noticed that the best way to probably play it is instead of having to pressure yourself with Kyogre and go aggressive with a slow start, you can just put a lot of pressure on them by using Greninja early game and then Sablying with Cram and then kind of just that being your win condition. So checkmating them with 2 Sableyes. Because if you can get into a spot where you can Ninja and vacuum away their charm, and then bench Sableye, Mirage Gate, you pretty much just kind of checkmate them in a way where they can judge you, they can Iono you, but they can't get around it, right?
Awesome. Okay. And then, following the big win, how does it feel? This is the first tournament after the major rule changes and all the new formats for prizing and day twos and everything. How does it feel to already have your invite after one event? One event played, your invite is ready, and you're 11 months from playing the World Championships in Hawaii.
Feels great. I mean, I actually wasn't even going to go. I mean, I was going to go anyways this year, but I was actually going to go as a spectator. Perez and I were talking about just showing up and having fun for the week. I mean, my friend's getting married the week before Worlds anyways in Hawaii, so I was already going to be there. So
that's sick.
Feels good that we're going to play. But initially, I'm still sticking to the plan I had before the season. My plan was only going to be Pittsburgh because it's close, and I had nothing to do this weekend. Toronto and NAIC, and I guess now Worlds.
Oh, okay. So it really isn't affecting your season's plans at all. Do you think it would have? Let's just say if you were kind of more into playing more events, if you were kind of outside like a full-time job and everything, do you think it would have affected your decision to play the season differently?
Not really, because I find that I've been playing for so long now. It's the point where, as much as I like the game and everything, and I love the growth of the community, it's just getting to the point where I'm starting to think about my future now and my career, like real estate, investing, all this stuff. And it's just, I think at that point, I'm starting to kind of mature that way. So I'm just choosing that and like picking my weekends more wisely, I guess. Pokemon's a big commitment. The stress behind and the playing the games for 2 days straight, it almost feels like a full-time job. Literally.
It is, yeah.
It's crazy how much brain power and exhaustion you feel when you play Pokemon, and the dedication it comes down to, right?
Yeah. And if you are truly working a full-time job, it's almost impossible. Like it is so difficult to do the prep, the travel, the commitment through an entire weekend. So kudos to you for pulling it out with the full-time commitments. Hedrick, any additional thoughts from the weekend? Any pointers to future Lugia players before we get things just kind of tipped on its head next weekend when 151 comes out?
Yeah, I think it will be interesting to see actually how Lugia changes with 151. The meta will definitely shift a little bit, I feel like, because Mew EX is definitely an interesting card that's going to change a lot of that's in 151, right? I think.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So that's going to change decks. That card's going to be pretty good in Lugia as well, I assume. So I'll be interested to see how that affects stuff. Also, hopefully, Charizard gets a little bit better because it gets the 7 HP Charmanders, and that's also not a great matchup for Lugia. So I'll be interested to see if that makes Charizard gets more popular or not. I was glad I didn't have to hit any Charizards this weekend. So we'll see if the deck gets more popular or not, and that would affect how good I think Lugia would be in the future. So
yeah, I think the set's gonna be really cool because it seemingly has more competitive cards than Obsidian Flames does, right? Like in the Mew EX, the Zapdos EX, the Giovanni's Energy Acceleration, the 70 HP Charmander. There's a lot in it for being a specialty set. That's gonna be pretty cool. Awesome. All right, Michael, any closing thoughts for Pittsburgh Regional?
I wanted to bring up one other card that's in 151. I can't remember what it's called, but it's like Gary Oak's sister. The text reads, draw 2 cards and then look at your face down prize cards and then put them back. So I just think it's great that they're reintroducing the concept of knowing the order of your prize cards, because playing around that is like so much more than a lot of the community realizes. So I'm super excited to see that card come out. And I'm super happy that Hedrick and Estrada made top cut and got top 4 and won. That's awesome. I think that Gabe deserves a shout out for helping Hedrick with the deck, and I definitely Hunter Butler deserves a shout out for being one of the best buds and for doing so well. When you're in position, like 35 match points, you can't ask for a better weekend. right? And he started off 1-1-1 with 2 hours of sleep. And I texted him, I was like, 1-1-1 to 12-1-1. And he basically pulled it off. So congratulations, all you guys.
Yeah. Like Hunter, I started off the day 0-2, and I look across in round 3, and Hunter's like across the table from me. I'm like, oh shit. And then we go into like round 9. He's like, dude, I'm like about to be 7-1-1 here. I'm like, how what happened, bro? But yeah, he did amazing. The whole team did fantastic, and it was a really fun weekend. Awesome. So thank you all so much for joining us tonight. Go around the horn and just let y'all shout out any socials or any things you got to plug. We'll start with our guest tonight, Mr. Estrada.
Oh God, I mean, everyone you said is a close friend of mine too. So shout out all you guys. Obviously, shout out you, Hedrick, Michael. You guys are awesome. You guys are studs. Shout out Hunter, Moffitt. Let me just go through this list. All the Canadians, obviously, for cheering me on. Zach Lesage, Mark Dizon for the mental coaching that he gave me. And then just all the parents, all the kids, everyone that was there. Awesome show. Oh, and Lucas Zing. You're also with Chad. Chempao, actually. That's the one thing we didn't talk about, eh? We didn't talk about Chempao's position, really, because I think with the new set coming out, it gives Chempao a lot of interesting takes to the meta, so we'll see kind of how that takes off. But a lot of potential there. But yeah, shout out to those guys.
Cool. Michael?
You can find me on Twitter at my boy Tobias, MAHBOITOBIAS. And I'll see everyone attending at the Sacramento Regionals and Toronto Regionals.
All right, let's go. I am hoping against hope to get registered for Sacramento tomorrow night, so we'll see what happens.
Good luck.
Yeah, the airline tickets like halved in price, so I'm going for it.
Oh yeah.
All right, Hedrick, finish us off here.
Yeah, shout out to all the homies I saw this weekend. Shout out to Estrada for his good finish, and Michael for the support, and the rest of the DDG. And also you can find me on Twitter at PokeHawkeye, so make sure to follow me there.
All right, awesome. And to wrap it up, be sure to go check out CutterTap.com. All of our great articles are up on there. We're going to have a kind of a wrap up from Hunter Butler on his run. Gabe Smart's got a preview of Pokemon 151 set coming out next week. And some, just fantastic articles. We're averaging about 2 or 3 a week at this point. So a ton of content for your membership there. And of course, go over to Dead Draw Gaming, support our players, our pro team. You get all your singles, sealed, graded, all that good stuff over there. Well, thank you all so much again. Thank you everyone home for watching. And we will catch you next time.